Welcome back. Time now for a panel discussion. This is the part I've been looking forward to. Still, Jill Lieber Steeg with us. Also, Aaron Taylor, Mike Haynes, NFL Hall of Famer, and Mike Goff. These two gentlemen played for the Chargers, you'll remember. All retired players now, and that's why they're here to help us kind of understand this, because they know better than us.
Do we say that Mike Haynes was a Raider?
We were going to gloss over that, but now we know he was also a Patriot and is now in Canton. Mike Goff, I loved covering you. Highly intelligent man from the Harvard of Iowa, the University of Iowa. You have, since retiring, got your degree. You have a beautiful wife, much more than I ever could have imagined.
Definitely outkicked my coverage.
And a daughter. And we have talked about the transition and the missing the game, and that nothing replaces the game, no matter how much you try to fill your life with these wonderful things I've mentioned.
Well, the thing about it is there comes a time where you just want to really look for something to fill that void, and you can only play so much golf and go down the Toot and have some beers with the buddies, and you can only do so much for so long until you just realize that there's something missing. There's a little bit of camaraderie that you had on a daily basis for almost 9 months out of the year. You were kind of like a teacher. You were in session for 9 months, and then you had 3 months off, and then when you got back, it was like coming back from summer vacation. You talked about what you did, who you saw, what was going on, and then you just got back to it, and then all of a sudden you wake up and you're 35 years old and you go, I'm not playing anymore. What do I do now?
That's so young. Hey, that's mesmerizing me. This is your guys' panel. What for you, both of you gentlemen have gone on and have full lives, but this is a tough thing.
Well, yeah, when you get out of the game, a lot of people go through depression. I would be willing to say take a chance and say I bet 8 out of 10 guys, if not 10 out of 10, go through depression, because a lot of people don't know what depression is. I think when I first thought about depression, when people would ask me, I said, no, I'm not depressed. But I took a test and I was moderately depressed, because I think my view of depression was, woe is me, I can't eat, don't want to get out of bed. I seemed to be getting out of bed, playing golf with my buddies and having a good time. But really, I was still a little bit depressed because, as Mike said, there's so much of my life, for 14 years as a pro football player and even 4 years of college football, you're with these group of guys and you're used to seeing them and working out with them and being with them. And then there's this disconnect, and it's like your identity is switching. And if you haven't prepared for that, it can be pretty depressing.
Yeah, there's no question. I think really what you guys are talking about, the same thing that I went through, being in a funk and all these denial of what our feelings are, right? And when you're in the locker room, it's not a safe place. You're not willing to be able to show your vulnerability. So when you get out in the real world, you're certainly not going to be able to do that. I mean, football inherently is a game where we promote our strengths and minimize our weaknesses. And because of that, it helps us to be able to game plan and scheme and get wins on the field. But we do that out in the real world, and it severely retards our ability to be able to be successful. And I think, Mike, what you were hitting on, Goffy, was the fact of what's our purpose. I think when we get done at the crux of what it is now is, as football players, we always had something to push up against that would push back. What's our sense of purpose? What are we going to do now? We've always been what we've always done. It raises the question of who are we now that we're no longer doing that?
And that's a scary thing, to lose your self-identity. And how would you keep that from happening, though? I mean, where does that start? Because when you're a kid and you're identified as being exceptional, you're pulled away from the average guy and you're put with another group, and then it goes on all the way up the line.
For you, 35, 18 years of football. I did the math when you two talked, and that's half of a very young life with a lot of life to go.
Yeah, no question. And Jill, you're absolutely right that we are unique. We are special for all of our lives, just up until the time that we're not. And then we're the average everyday Joe when we go through this phase of insecurity. We don't know what it is we're going to do. And I think the best way to plan for it is to arm the guys with the information. But it's an interesting dynamic that takes place when we play football, because having a second career and interests outside of football is not supported. I mean, a lot of people don't want to talk about that, but you are discouraged from doing anything other while you are under contract and playing in the NFL than focusing on the game. So the best thing oftentimes that can allow guys to be able to make a smooth transition, not only do we not look at, it's discouraged.
Yeah, there are different things you can do, though. Get to know yourself better. You know, you can take these personality tests, you can learn what kind of things you really like to do, what you're passionate about, and you can start to chase that passion while you're still playing. You don't have to just wait, play football, and then like at the end of it say, what am I going to do?
Isn't that the key, Mike? I mean, isn't that the key, to do it while you're still playing?
Did you
Absolutely.
do that?
Absolutely, I did. Every offseason when I was with the Patriots, I worked at a money management firm in Boston called State Street Research and Management. I think they have like $400 and something billion under management now. When I came to the Raiders, I started a public relations business with a couple other guys because I saw from my own life that when I was in New England, I was a big star. When I came back to where I grew up in Los Angeles, no one knew me. And so I had a public relations business and started to see how I could make guys like this a household name, and how difficult some people thought it was, but really it's not that difficult. And so I had a lot of fun doing that, and every year in the off season I did a lot of charity work like a lot of guys do. They get involved in the community that way, and I think those are all kind of things that we have to do to start to continue to develop ourselves off the football field.
No doubt.
I really think that the hardest part of just being in football is that you don't ever know when it's done. You always hear the cliche, play like there is no tomorrow. But I think after a certain, you get tenured, after about year 8, I figured, hey, I at least got 10 more years of this. And then I blew my shoulder out after my 12th, and next thing you know, I got it rehabbed and I was ready to go. And one call came, nothing came of it, but I was going, oh, that's only one call, right? We'll get another, and that call never came. And so you kind of get ambushed by the fact that, holy cow, this is no longer gonna happen. And to what Mike and Aaron were saying, I'll be the first to admit that I never took the time during the season to really think about what I was gonna do afterwards, because after about year 8, I realized that, hey, I might still play for 10 years, and I'm just gonna keep going. I think that's what's wrong. Young kids nowadays, they just see the money and they go, hey, I'm just gonna keep playing, and it's gonna be that easy. But you need to be prepared.
Hey, I want to touch real quick, and there's so much more than this, but we got 31 years of NFL experience sitting here. How scary is the 3 young men still? How scary is the increased knowledge of the concussion issue for you guys, the unknown?
Well, with a 4 and a 3-year-old son and having memory issues at 40 years old and battling depression and drug addiction and alcoholism in my adult life, it's very concerning for me because a lot of the symptoms that CTE presents, I happen to have. I've got a beautiful, blessed life, the wife that I've always wanted, the family that I've always wanted. I'm employed. I like what I do, financial security, 2 beautiful, healthy children. Yet there are times that I get in waves of depression that seemingly is unexplainable. I know that I have the life that I want, and I can't get out of that rut, and I don't know where that comes from. It doesn't make sense to me, particularly with the focus and the effort that I put on it. So yeah, with a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old son, it makes me think twice about what it is I'm doing, because I don't know what the causal chain and what the longitudinal studies are eventually going to be able to show us. But to me, in my book, there's smoke right now. And I don't know how big of a fire it is, but it certainly makes me cautious and ask more questions and take more preparation for their behalf than I would otherwise.
Would you have them play football?
I'll cross that bridge, Joe, when I get to it, but I got to be honest, I'm having my reservations at this point.
Well, I have 2 young boys, and they're both playing. And the reason they're playing, I didn't play youth football. I started playing football in the 10th grade. It's kind of crazy, right? And with all the information that's out there now, you do have to get educated. And I think even with the idea of transition, it's all about education. You know, talk to the guys who have played before you. You got kids, get educated before you let your kid play.
The parents have to get
Yes.
educated. This Heads Up program, Mike, I know that you coach Pop Warner and you're a big proponent of this Heads Up program. This has shown me we need more time to talk about this, but we have to go.